Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
Hello and welcome to the Rock Nerd Radio Show here on YouTube. Today we are going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be comparing two action figure incarnations of the same character, and I will ask myself, which one is better? These are just my opinions. This is not a definitive sort of any kind of answer, but today we will be focusing on the Spider-Man character known as the Sandman. And the first entry that we will be looking at is the Marvel Legends Hasbro Build-A-Figure Sandman from late 2016, early 2017, depending when you got it. And this was a Build-A-Figure. You needed every figure in the wave in order to complete this figure. And yeah, this is it. And we will be comparing him with the somewhat recently released, it was late 2021, I believe, Sandman figure. This Sandman is on the vintage card packaging of the Spider-Man retro card, whatever you want to call it. And same character, two very, very different figures. So I'm going to kind of quickly compare some of their features, some of the things that they come with, and I'm going to tell you which I think is better for my display. This might not necessarily be true for every single person out there. Again, it is just my opinion, but we're going to start with the Build-A-Figure, the older Build-A-Figure. Now, of course, with the Build-A-Figure, you do need to buy every single figure from a wave in order to get it, and this figure was no exception. You needed every figure in the wave in order to complete all the pieces. It was separate in head, body, both legs, and both arms. And then as an added bonus, yes, it did come with these two big sand hands that are on some nice joints here, so you can bend them up if you needed to. You can turn them. But aside from the hands, this Sandman also came with a mace and a hammer, a sand hammer. So nice display options here for the Sandman figure. You can swap out the pieces if you want, and they are very simple to do. You just have to pull the piece off and then replace with whichever one you see fit. I'll put the hammer on in this case. And while it does look very cool, this is on the same body as the Absorbing Man Build-A-Figure from a little bit earlier than this. And it does look neat, but of course it has fully sanded out sand arms. Now, for me, this isn't really a complaint because I'm displaying a Sandman figure. Yes, I want him to have sand features, so I wouldn't really display him with non-sand parts. But I know some people were upset about this when it came out. The other downside is these arms are extremely heavy. As you can see, he cannot really stand if they are extended. So if you're going to put him on a shelf, you might just kind of have to have him standing kind of straight up, with the parts at his side somewhat. Of course, mine's kind of crouched at the moment, but I can make him stand. I think the only other complaint that I had on this figure, other than the heaviness of the arms, is that he has these big, ball joints on his waist. They are not quite as hidden as some later figures tend to be when it comes to their waist joints. But overall, a pretty cool figure, a pretty big figure too. In fact, this Sandman is your standard 6-inch Marvel Legends, and the old Build-A-Figure towers over him. Now, for a character like the Sandman, I can see him changing his size and changing how he looks. So him being a little taller, I didn't mind. One thing I didn't show because I don't have it handy at the moment, is he did have an alternate head. There was a head that came, it looked like it was a piece of sand had been punched out of it, so it was dented. And if I recall, it didn't have pupils in the one eye that was still visible, and it did look a little angrier. So while that was a neat display option, I was always going to kind of give him the full head because I do like that as my display choice. But this has been my Sandman for a long, long time, and I recently did pick up the new one. So let's quickly go over the new Sandman for some of his features. Now, of course, without the sand parts on him, he just looks like a dude. And I guess that's kind of one of the cool things about the Sandman, is that without all of his sand parts on him, he really does just look like a guy. So kind of an unassuming villain until you really know what he's capable of. Now, I believe this body is a reuse of the Netflix Luke Cage body that was available in a 2-pack. And it has since been used, I think, for characters like Hydro Man, only he has fully watered arms and some additional water pieces. So with Sandman, in order to make him look a little more sandy, we do have some alternate pieces. Now, one of the pieces they gave him is an alternate head, which I do like because it kind of echoes back to the Build-A-Figure head, where it's, you know, a piece of sand is like missing. It looks like it's been punched out, but it does have a hole here, so you can have a standard Marvel Legends figure kind of punch their fist through it, looking like they're punching right through Sandman's head, which is kind of a neat feature. And it's on, you know, his head's on a ball joint, so you can just pop it off and pop this one on if you needed to. Great for, you know, if you're taking action figure photographs. I've seen a lot of people post online like Spider-Man punching through Sandman, and it is a pretty cool thing. I'm going to lay that over on the side though. But the other pieces he has to really get into the sand motif is that he has these like sand gauntlets that help the sand hands that he has kind of look a little more natural. So this works pretty similarly as you would expect from any Marvel Legends. You just pop the hand off, put this piece on. Now you're going to want to put this more like tunnel looking side on his arm. It covers it like that. It does fit quite nicely. The fit is a little tight, and I do wonder if after multiple uses of pulling it on and off, if that would kind of cause some paint rub. But hang on, I just got to get this on a little tighter. I'm going to plug this into place. There we go. It snaps on. So now he's got that nice looking mace hand for one, and what I will do with the other one, I will put on the sand hand that he has. Now there are only 2 hand or sand options here on this figure, as opposed to the Build-A-Figure, which did have the 4 options. You got 2 sanded hands, a mace, and a hammer. So he has the big sanded hand as well as the mace. There we go. Took a little extra pushing to get that on, but it's on. Now, the nice thing about these, the not so nice thing about these is while they can turn, they don't have any other joints, so you can't angle them any at all, like unlike the Build-A-Figure. Now, those are granted larger pieces. These are smaller, so that is a bit of an issue. So I'm just going to plug this hand back on for a moment. All right, so I just had to readjust his hands here, but they are now both on. And as I said, yeah, they don't swivel up and down, but they're not as heavy, so he can kind of stand a little better if you kind of tilt his legs a bit than the other Sandman can with his hands in front of him. Although now of course that I'm trying to do it on camera, it doesn't want to work, but come on, stand. Well, now it's making me a liar. I guess when you're adding these big pieces onto a figure, it's always going to kind of have some trouble standing, which is weird because this is a pretty level surface. And I swear before I did have him standing. There we go. Now he's standing. So that's a quick rundown of the 2 figures. Obviously, you know, when it comes to joints and stuff, it's everything you would expect on a Marvel Legends figure, so I don't need to go through the articulation much. But I guess what the question really comes down to is which Sandman is right for you. Now, you know, for me, I'm going to end up keeping both of these Sandman figures. I'm going to be honest with you. I do like them. I think there are times where I might want to display him being a little larger, and times where I might want to display him being a little smaller. But I think they are both very good figures. Now, I've been collecting Legends since really the inception of the line back in the Toy Biz days. So I've had a lot of Sandmen over the years. Well, actually, I had one from Spider-Man Classics, and then really just these 2. But I've had a lot of figures over the years, so I know some people were clamoring for this one, the newer one, because they weren't collecting when this one, the Build-A-Figure, came out. So they were really looking to get a Sandman for their collection, and the new one really helped fill that void. I know some people didn't feel like they needed to upgrade. At first, I'll admit, I wasn't even going to buy him. The reason why I picked him up was Hasbro Pulse had that Lightning Day deal sales event, and I picked up the Sandman that way. Otherwise, I wasn't prepared to spend full price on him, although he does look cool. Now that I've picked him up, I'm glad I did. In hand, I think he's pretty cool. So this really comes down to which one is going to live on my display, and unfortunately, in this video, the answer is both of them. I can't give you a definitive answer for what I think is better, but I would love to see your comments if you want to leave a comment as to what you think is better. There are times where I'll probably display him. He is big, he does take up a lot of room, so right now my main Spider-Man villain shelf I'm looking to kind of make a little more room on, so I will probably be putting him to the side for now in favor of this one, who is definitely going to not take up quite so much room on the shelf. So I guess technically this one wins for now, although as I said, the Build-A-Figure is not a bad figure at all. Of course, with a character like the Sandman, maybe he's going to make multiple Sand versions of himself, in order to fight his main nemesis, being Spider-Man. But they either way, they all look good with Spider-Man. This is the retro carded Spider-Man that I still really like, and I hope if you have him, I hope you'll be able to get him at a good price. I hope you do like him. There are some new options or some new ways coming down the pike to get a figure like this one, and maybe I will compare and contrast them as time goes on as well. But overall, both good figures. Really, it's going to depend on what you prefer for your Marvel Legends. I feel like this is almost more of a classic Sandman design, kind of before he was always drawn to be like this hulking monster of a character, where this one kind of, then takes that into consideration. But yeah, for now, he'll probably be the one on my shelf just to kind of save some room. As I said, if you have any comments that you want to leave about what Sandman you like better, I would love to read it. I'll try to respond to as many as possible. And until then, you can always check out the Rock Nerd Radio Show live every Wednesday on HudsonRiverRadio.com, or subscribe to the podcast and check out all the other videos that I have here on YouTube. Until next time, I've been Dan. Hey, you've been pretty awesome. Those have been some Sandmen, whatever. And I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.